Welcome to this special webinar. And it's not special because I'm here. It's special because at the last moment, David Norman said, somebody's got to give me the keys and I got to drive this thing. I'm Pablo Gonzalez, Chief Evangelist at Vendoroo. We've got Tyler Nelson, our Director of Operations. You want to say hello, Tyler?
Everybody, glad to have you all again.
And we also have David Norman, who is our Chief Property Manager, aka the mini-me inside of the AI as well. David, you want to say hello?
Nice to see everybody. Looking forward to having a great session.
Awesome. I would love to know in the chat what's the number one thing that we can help you with right now? Like, what's the number one thing that brought you here, right? Like, I wanna use that chat to create more and more of these webinars and being like really targeted to what we can help. And of course, if you're gonna do that, say you're here, say hi, say your name, say where you're from. That would be awesome. That being said, today we're gonna talk about something that we have been talking about for a very long time, but there's a new inflection point in it, and it's this idea of treating your AI as your teammate is the number one indicator of success, right? Like that like mindset of like really taking this like teammate mentality is the number one thing that we want you to walk away from here feeling convinced and empowered to do. And what's really changed is that two things, right? Over the amount of time that we've been doing this, the data has gotten so clear, right? Like now there's enough people doing this at a really high level, enough people that have failed at it, enough people doing it at middle levels that the AI is, really able to understand what winning looks like in these behavioral insights that we've never had before. And that has also allowed us to create a new interface that allows you to better execute on those behavioral insights. So David is going to talk to you right now about this way of this like undeniable data about what helps you win as far as the AI teammate mentality and exactly how to apply it. And Taylor and David are going to jam here, and it's going to be really awesome. David, you want to take it away?
So I think it was really important just to kind of start off with the journey that we've seen over the kind of like the last 2 years and kind of where we're at today and what we're seeing as far as the data, right? So in the very beginning, we always talk about this internally that, we were, building the plane is taking off, and it was, an engine, a wheel, 4 or 5 clients that loved excitement and the adrenaline rush of trying something new with AI and just jumping in and saying we were going to be the ones that they were going to figure this out, right? Is this going to work for maintenance? And the cool thing is that there are a lot of people that are still with us here to this day that were a part of the clients that accepted the friction, right? And I always think about, you can have a 400 power horse car, and if it wasn't for friction, you would just sit there and the wheels will spin, right? And the friction inside of AI has actually turned out to be a very good thing for all of us, and it's actually been a really great thing for the number of new clients that have joined us within the past 60 or 90 days that are now sitting in a plane that is, it's hit its cruising altitude, it's flying, and we're seeing this adoption to where in the very beginning years back, like 1 out of 2 people were testing out AI and seeing like, does this work for me? And they couldn't handle maybe the uncertainty or being on the plane that was being built that was going to now today, we're seeing that, like 90% of people now that are introducing AI agents into their company are having success, and they're achieving outstanding results in automation and in customer satisfaction across the board. So we are at a really cool moment to where I feel like things are stabilizing as far as what the expectations are and the product is, and then also watching just the results stabilizing across clients. There's not one person that's having an amazing experience and then somebody's having a bad. We're seeing like a lot of people that are having really great experiences. But there is a very clear signal to why the group of people that are succeeding are cruising at such a high altitude. And it's the idea and the understanding of the control points that really, if I was hiring a new employee, that they that this is where I'd be spending all my time with them. And I think that we're all familiar here and understand the relationship of hiring a new employee and what we're pouring into them, right? So, control points are the importance of, our NTE thresholds, our property specific information, our escalation triggers, how do we follow up with vendors, our policies, our vendor routing rules, how they're submitting information and how we're capturing that. All the things that you guys know that run your business and help you succeed is what we pour into an employee when we hire them. So the data is in. Let's take a look at who is succeeding and who is struggling, and it's super clear. Okay. So here we show that the people who are investing into their teammates, just like a new hire, are the ones that are clearly succeeding and the margins are significant, right? And MB changes mean your maintenance books, right? Guys, this is the knowledge, the context of the way that you run your business and all that information that we're storing. And we'll look at a amazing example of a maintenance book by somebody who's achieving 95% automation consistently. And I'll share that with you guys here in a little bit. But they average 107 key notes, key decisions, and key things that they're trying to let their employee know that they run their business versus 55 for a person that is seeing low value in their agent or saying that AI is not ready for them. They're working with their coaches, their AAA advisors that we have here at Vendoroo, and we're one of the only companies that have AAA advisors, almost double the amount. They are also
David, you throw
actively,
away you throw around AAA all the time. Say what that is. That's a new
it's
acronym
our
for most people.
it's our AI adoption advisors.
Okay, continue.
And we'll get into that. And a lot of people have been working with them. They've been called account managers, and we've recently changed that to AI adoption advisors.
Thank you.
And then you guys can see here as well as client initiated changes. They're more proactive about making their own changes. And then self-service adoption, they are jumping in and they are working with their ROO on their own at a much higher rate. So just like when we're investing into a new employee into our office, there's no difference when we're working with our AI teammates. The evidence is clear that early investment and education are leading to success and pretty consistent success. And it kind of looks a little bit like this right now. Basically, you can expect, if investing into one of your agents or investing into your ROO, that 80% of your work is really defined and can be automated and off your plate. That's just what the expectation and kind of like the benchmark that is happening across the board. And then we have this 20% of undefined work that are, edge cases for people that are using us, in command. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me. People that are using us for command or using other know that we have our human in the loops to work on things like warranty claims or different processes that involve just the edge cases. There's things that happening that when AI fails, we have the human in the loop and the teams that support. But this is basically the breakdown now that we can expect as a company. So 80%, I invest into my teammate, take that off. 20%, I'm still going to be a little bit involved, or I'm using ROO's human in the loops to solve these cases. It's pretty consistent across the board for the past number of months.
Hey, David,
But
before we go deep into so many more stats, can we go back one and just talk a little bit more about those changes, right? Just to make sure that we're understanding this right? So one is the total number of total maintenance book changes per client. Like what winning looks like there, right? Is that an addition of these like coach driven and client initiated changes? Like, are we adding those numbers together?
yeah, so that would be the total amount of investment that they've put into the ROO knowledge base through the combination of their coaches, or if they're doing it themselves, or through the initial onboarding process.
Yeah.
But basically, they have 107 policies, key rules, vendor data. This is the information that they're giving to their teammate to succeed. Correct.
Over how much time? Over the entire length of training?
Yeah. So typically, we have seen that for clients that were, previous 60 or 90 days, this data was being captured in maybe over like a 6-month period, and it was slow to get everything in. And now we're seeing a sudden adoption to where the majority of this information is being captured within the first 30 days, which is really launching people through our new onboarding process, which Tyler's been a big part of. Yeah.
Okay, so this is in 30 days. How many things happen?
In the first 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually there's
Okay.
about 100 data
Got
points
it.
that we extract. Yeah.
Got it. So if I'm tracking, if I'm, you know, I'm John, or I'm Rob, or Patrick in the audience, right? Like I'm thinking, hey, in the last 30 days or in the first 30 days, did I touch this thing 106 times? Did this thing get touched 106 times? And then I'm thinking, out of those 106, 28 of those should have been me, and my AAA should have done 77 of those, right? So that's like a good conversation starter to ask yourself. Or am I somebody that hasn't shown up to, like, have I missed a couple meetings? And then, like, are we not like moving this thing along? Because it feels more like maybe they've only done 10 things for me, right? Like, is that's the takeaway that we want people to have here, is compare yourself to that metric of like what you've done in the last 30 days or overall if you're not seeing the results.
Yeah, that's a great mindset to have. Exactly. Yep.
Cool. All right, let's go.
Yeah, definitely the mindset there. So we're going to take a little bit of a deeper layer here. I asked Tyler to do an analysis of 1,000 edge case reviews that our teams here of the Human in the Loop review when something hasn't gone right, to see why did the AI need to raise its hand? Why did ROO raise its hand and say, hey, I need a human to step in here and help me out? So Tyler, why don't you talk a little bit about here the findings that we're seeing consistently finding when we're redoing our 1,000 case reviews?
Yeah. So that's the first thing that pops out, is that 66% are either knowledge gaps in the maintenance book or just workflows that aren't yet defined. And what's nice about this is that these are actually two very easy categories to get in place and level up your AI teammate. So for example, like 338 of those 1,000 feedback items were just either communication rules, like emergency protocols. So something as simple as, hey, like, what's the temperature threshold for heat or AC when that's an emergency? Policies like, if a light is over 10 feet high, we actually dispatch a vendor. If it's below 10 feet, it's the tenant's responsibility. So the clarification of those items is what drove like those edge cases of who's on first, who's responsible for this. But those are very easy things to chip away at and chip away at quickly. So you can really get about a 33% improvement very quickly, in like a matter of days. The next piece is client workflows. These are really cool because everybody comes in with their perception of what their workflows are and what processes people are following. And once your AI teammate is released and implemented in your team and in your business, it follows a cadence, it follows workflows, and holds people accountable to those cadences. And it really shines a light on where are certain pieces broken, where are areas of opportunity, and do we need to tweak this? And it shines a light on what reality is versus what people were perceiving their process was. So not a bad thing that it pops up, but really just showcases, hey, do we need to change how your AI teammate works, and put different processes in place for it to follow, to level up your automation rates and get you out of those work orders as well. And then we always like to be transparent. We want to show like when the AI actually like messes up. 5 out of 1,000 was like the component where we needed your additional knowledge to refine it and train it more. But a very, very small percentage of overall actions that your AI teammate takes. Go ahead. Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, great point, Tyler. And I do want to make a point there, guys, on the 321, and goes back to where the friction is. One of the things that we're seeing top performers doing is that when something is getting flagged because it's potentially a complicated workflow or there's gaps in it, it's actually an opportunity to say, hey, does this make sense in an automated world? Can this be improved? And we're seeing that a lot of the top performers across the way are actually simplifying workflows or better defining them. And that's helping taking them out of the process more and more. And it's still achieving an outcome. And in most cases, that outcome is getting resolved a lot quicker. And we're about to go into a few edge cases here to show you guys some real first class examples of just how these little pieces of data or how these little workflows go from changing a resident experience or getting people involved to actually being a part of the automation bucket. So Tyler, did you have anything else about this slide, or do you want to jump into these edge cases?
No, yeah, let's do the edge cases. Those are the
I
fun
would
ones.
just say, I would just say, if there's one thing to take away from this slide, like that is actionable for people, like mindset wise, like we just did on that last one, Tyler. What do you think that is?
Sorry, repeat that one, Pablo.
If there's like one actionable takeaway from this slide, like we just did in that last slide with all those numbers, like if I'm watching this as a client, what's the number one thing I should take away from what we just shared with these numbers?
Yeah, the number one thing is there is so much tribal knowledge in the property management industry, and everybody has it in their head, and we need to get it from your head into your AI teammate so I can follow it. And those are the main, like that's that 338 maintenance book gaps is it's in your team's head, not written down. And if we can do that, it creates uh, a lot better experience for you and your AI teammate, but also introduces a level of consistency and reliability in your business as a whole in case people leave, people go on vacation, etc. It's all documented and can be
And
replicated in the future.
when do those moments happen? These things get extracted from people's heads when they're in their meeting with their AAA, and then is it in other moments that are happening inside of offices? Like I want people to like have like a Pavlovian response, so like, oh, this is something like let's do this right now.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that second piece because David's actually going to showcase like
Perfect.
live
Perfect.
when
Thank you.
like what moments matter to do that in.
I should have been more aware of what was happening. Go ahead, guys.
No, no worries, guys. All right. So decision transparency, right? This is what it's all about. And never before, what excites me as a property manager, never before have we had the visibility into why our employee or employees are making the decisions or the actions that they're taking in such a way, right? We've all managed multiple maintenance coordinators, and we all sit there and wondering, like, what was this person thinking, and why did they do that? And maybe I would have done it differently. And now we have the ability to see those reasons why and to make those changes on the spot so that it's mimicking the practices that you want to have, right? So here's some examples, okay? Very simple things that break down automation that we see that are missed frequently. This goes back to the 66% that Tyler was talking about, okay? So for example, vendor declines the job. Vendor says, I don't do this type of repair, okay? So that entire cycle, it was a non-maintenance emergency work order. The vendor had 12 hours in order to accept or do the work order, and it was assigned to a handyman that was asked to do. There was a crack in the chimney, or there was something going along that line, right? We'll come to find out that for this specific client, they actually have people that have masonry skill sets, and if they just would have said, for any masonry issues, this is our individual, that would have resulted in a direct connection and an immediate dispatch versus a delay, right? So vendor knowledge, super important about skill sets and their abilities and capabilities. Warranty routing. ROO dispatched, a job to a warranty, and the response comes back and says we should have used an appliance vendor here. The appliances aren't covered under the warranty. Okay. Again, if you just looked at the general knowledge, it says home is covered. All home issues are covered under warranty. Again, little piece in there, but that's the type of stuff that your employee would need to know so that it was not wasting time, not informing the owner that it was going to a warranty and going down a path that it shouldn't have gone down. And then policy reinforcement. So in the policy, as a general note, the resident was responsible for refrigerator filter replacements. We see that that's very common. But in this case, I guess in several of these homes, there's an elaborate water filtration system underneath the sinks of all the houses. And the resident was saying, hey, like I need somebody to come and take care of this. But that was also the resident's responsibility. So again, if you have a home or a property that has specific systems or a water filtration system that the resident or the owner or you're responsible from, giving over that tribal knowledge and giving over that brain knowledge that you have instead of holding it inside of your head or knowing it somewhere, just tell ROO, right? And ROO's going to make sure that that resident is educated and supported as soon as they answer that question in versus being like, hey, I have to go check this out and coming back to them 12 hours later. So, really the takeaway from this, as we're about to dive into some real world examples here, is the value of information that you are holding on to. And back to the original slide, the top performers are the ones that are taking the moment and taking the time to really dump in that information to ensure that their teammate is set up for success. So again, as a property manager myself, I've never had the opportunity just to look at a work order and have all the information at my fingertips as to why my teammate handled this the way that they did. Okay. So we all know that we have PM ROO, and there is a direct correlation to success and engagement with PM ROO. They go hand in hand. It's just the same way of direct success as I'm working with my employee and we're communicating, on a daily basis, or I have oversight into what they're doing, right? But the things that I really want to point out to you here first is that in every single decision that ROO is making, or whatever you named ROO, we see a lot of really great names out there and I love seeing them, is there's a little brain icon there. And that little brain icon says, this is the reason why I've made this decision, and this is the policy that you have given me that is helping me answer or resolve this issue for this resident. And just like a good employee, when they first start working with you, right? How many of us are saying good job and giving it a thumbs up and reinforcing that behavior? Or how many of us are saying, hey, I need you to adjust the behavior? We've all hired and trained thousands of employees together, and we know how to do this. And I think the big aha moment for me in working with my property management community is that I'm going, this is really no different. If I invest into it, I'm going to get the results out of it. And of course, the advantage is that with ROO, it doesn't call in sick. It works 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, and it's working in real time. So I'm definitely going to invest in somebody that showed up with a resume like that for me. So all your communications with all of your vendors.
Hey, Dave, real quick.
Yep.
So it's like it's working that hard, but it's also, for me, when I struggle, sometimes when I'm managing people, sometimes I like, man, I've told you this so many times, and I'm just like, I'm not even going to tell them this because they're going to forget. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think in here, the main thing is like, the first time you tell it, it's not going to forget. It's going to remember that. So like, if you're, I think for some, you might have to like cross that bridge of just like, oh, this is going to feel different if like you're burned out of doing that type of stuff, right? Like this is the compounding advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that for many of you, and we do see people coming in, if you were talking to your employee and you ask them, how do you triage, I'll just use this because it's on the top of my head, right? Because we see this one comes in all the time. This interaction with your employee, we have one person who always has like 85, 90% automation. And we can look at everybody's behavior and the amount of times that they asked questions to their employees and then gave it information. And then he's just like, this is stored. This is captured. I can see what they're doing and I can adjust and make behavior. And then I can forget about it, knowing that ROO has it and it's going to run with it. And I don't have to worry about continuing reinforcement, right? When we're talking about triage and decisions, Pablo, for sure. Right. Okay, cool. So again, back to the work order view, okay? You can live here and you can see your timelines. You can see your work order views. You can see your next steps. There should never be a time that you don't have visibility to understand, why did this happen? Why did this decision get made? that you don't have insight into and can't reinforce it, or you can't adjust the behavior. You're in complete control there. Okay. The other part that is really noticeable for people that are achieving unbelievable automation, and this specific client is absolutely crushing it. They have 77 open work orders right now. They've invested a lot of time into their ROO in the very beginning. You can see that all of their knowledge bases are 100% across the board. They asked, where are our gaps compared to everybody else? We showed them their gaps, and they went in and they filled those in. And you can see your rate of automation. And then if you ever had to get involved into a work order, right, you have the ability just to see, why is my team getting involved? And you have some tips here about policies or updates that you can do to help improve your workflow, and just see the behaviors of your team and why people are getting involved in the work order. It actually brings up the actual piece, right? Ask the tenant for availability this Friday, assign the GZ, schedule with our in-house tech once it's done. Okay, just a basic prompt. That's good. But as leaders of our business, we have insights into how our employee is running our business in a way that has never been available to us until today. And that's what gets me excited as an operator. You can see everything. You know, how about just this one, and making sure that we're looking at our tenant sentiment and connecting to work orders that are being highlighted to where somebody may have expressed frustration when they were submitting in the original work order, or they had, you know, and the resident submitted in 4 work orders for the same issue, and you knowing that, so you can get that type of personalized experience, because ROO's taking you out of the weeds and you're having more time to focus on the metrics and the information that matters.
Dave,
Takeaway here.
let me pause you. Let me pause you for a second, right? So you just explained kind of 2 concepts. There's also, I see TJ and Rob saying that they don't see a brain on their interface. So like, in case they kind of like were thinking about that and didn't see this piece, the thing that you just covered before is essentially, if I'm getting that correctly, you know, like this level of insights that we now have into a teammate allows us, you know, for those of us that are really good at managing people, that's great. We're doing the same thing the same way. But for those of us that feel like we could use some help managing people, like this, like amount of data and behavioral insights allows us to tap into that piece in a way that helps us now, like, you know, that helps the ROO inform us on how to manage it, right? Is that kind of like the message of that last one?
Yeah, 100%. You know, when these escalations come through, and these brains are here, it's basically your teammate ROO saying to you, evaluate me, train me, show me. Like it is the most proactive employee that you could have, and it is thirsty for you to give it all the knowledge and reinforcement and feedback, because its sole purpose is it wants to keep you out of the work order as much as you can. Right? And to me, that's an awesome employee to hire. So
Dave, some people, so Patrick just said the brain is in the comms tab. It took me a little while to find it. Can we slowly navigate, like when you normally pop this open, what would happen that people would not see the brain, and then like navigate to that brain piece?
Yeah. So when you're looking at your work orders over here, right? So you know that you have your progress view, or you can just look at your, you know, most recent one that came in. You simply just click on the work order, and when you go under the comms section inside of your work order, which is you know, your resident, the vendor, or the owner. And when you're looking at your communications, you can just look at the brain to understand why ROO suggested that or said that. So always the brain, the logic that sits underneath there.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Why am I making this decision? And then also in your timeline report down here, you can also always see the information that your teammate is using that you told it. It needs to be considered for this type of issue, right? So there's a bunch of other pieces here.
If someone is still not seeing their brain in the space, Tyler, what is the instruction for them?
I would ask them to submit a support ticket right through ROO and just say, hey, I'm unable to see the brain, and their AAA advisor which is their AI adoption advisor. We'll reach out to them to make sure if it's a one-off thing or to help them guide them.
So just chat it right into the communication system,
Yeah,
TJ. Just put, hey, I can't see the brain in there, and we'll be pinged.
Yeah, you can submit an action request. How can I assist you today? And you can submit an action request right through there.
And the action request would literally say, I can't see my brain thing. Like, what is the signal? What would you type in there? I'm just trying to make this like very clear for everybody to be able to help themselves out.
Don't submit it, but just go ahead and do it, David, and show what it says.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would just like, I am unable to see the brain icon that David, like, just like literally you can just showed.
I love this. Yeah, this is cool.
Yes, action request one. So, okay. So you can just do it and say, no, and then you would say, there's no work order on this. Please submit it. This is just an action request, and it'll just put it through.
Cool. I think that was powerful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. All right. So this is the interface of your employee, right? Showing you all the information and begging you to get engaged with it. And then the end state that everybody.
Oh, wait, Dave, I cut you back. I cut you off when you went like after you explained that first thing. Then you're like, hey, here's a good place to dive into. Where did you just dive into a second ago?
Yeah. So here is the command center on the left-hand side, which shows me all of my maintenance metrics. Okay. For example, here's a really cool one. So again, this client, and I'll show you why they're killing it with their policies. This is unbelievable case study. So out of 218 work orders that have come in so far, they're at 95% automation. 41 of those work orders have been resolved without a vendor that ROO resolved with the resident through troubleshooting or through policy clarification. Okay, like that's awesome. You can see the types of work orders that ROO is handling for you, right? So I would always be like, if I'm looking at, I'm getting mostly HVAC tickets coming in, I would definitely be asking ROO, how do you triage HVAC to ensure that our highest priority work order has the best expert triage? You can also look at the distribution of work that your vendors are getting and the type of skill sets of jobs that they're handling. And then you can take a look to see at how they're doing as far as the number of work orders that they're coming in, their average days, and how much effort is ROO putting into this vendor to get them to, accept it, schedule it, right? If we have messages off the charts, you may want to go look to see if that vendor's performance is solid, if it's taking your teammate so much time to be able to reach out to that vendor or to get engaged with them. Obviously your automation is in here. We talked about that, what a healthy maintenance book looks like. Again, phenomenal job. They're at 100%, 95% automation, and examples of where potential improvements could be. Or, you have a receptionist. If you have the voice, you have all your receptionist phone calls here. There is a new receptionist leasing functionality that's coming.
David, how would you interact with the receptionist phone calls? Can you ask ROO, like, why did you talk like this?
No, you can't ask ROO that, but to interact, you can listen to all the phone calls. You can see what the sentiment score is. You can click on it. It gives you a full deep dive. And so this is more about hearing it. And then your AAA could always help you out with any behavior models. This is something that needs some coaching for sure.
Got it. So you're like listening to it and then taking a note, like, oh, hey, talk to Juan about why, like it takes this long to answer or why she said this.
Exactly. Maybe the routing rule was wrong or there was a behavior issue. And I would definitely go to, Juan, your AI adoption advisor, with that detail for sure. Yep.
Cool. And then you were going to go into tenant sentiment as another place that you could like play around in?
Yeah, tenant sentiment, you can come down here and you can take a look at it, which is always great. That anytime that a resident has expressed frustration, right, just like a great employee would, hey, I just want to bring this to your attention. I'm working with a resident. They seemed mad about what was going on. And then you can click on this, go right to the work order, see what's happening, see if this is a situation that you could be proactive about or help resolve, maybe send them a personal note. But this type of insight, no employee is giving us this type of insight in real time when it comes to our residents that may be expressing frustration or just a resident that's submitting a work order in a frustrated manner. I would love to know that personally. And now you can have visibility into that for sure.
Cool.
Awesome. So now we know ROO, the value of PM ROO, the importance of ROO sending us escalations, right? Hey, I have something you need to approve. I have a question about this, right? Right. Our escalation bucket should be empty, right? We want to get in there and we want to train ROO. We want to resolve it because this is helping moving work orders along, right? So anytime that you're coming in any one of your work orders, you could always see your escalations up here. And then the ideal state, guys, right, is that for the first time as property managers, we're able to take all the information that is stored in Google Docs and different spaces and in our brains and knowledge, and we're able to bring it into a centralized space that our business runs and operates on. And I want to show you some examples of why this specific client is so successful in getting and thinking about the way that their ROO teammate thinks. Like, look at the way that they write their policies: responsibility, tenant action, tenant calls, management involvement. Like, they give very specific rules of responsibility and actions, and ROO thrives off this. Accountability, owning the outcome is where ROO really exceeds. And there's some really best practices in here that we'd love to share with you about people who are really winning the game when it comes to just ROO, just having unbelievable, automation for them. You go into their vendors and everybody, I would encourage anybody. How does an employee know the little things that you know about your vendors unless you go in there and just spend some time telling them about your vendor, right? Like, how does your new employee know that, this guy doesn't work on, he doesn't work on tankless water heaters, right? Maybe you have a vendor, one plumber is great for your hot water tanks that are electric, but the other plumber is who you want them to be for gas, right? Put that knowledge in there. And that's how ROO is so successful at assigning vendors. And for the clients that are on here that are just under engaged or tier one, that are using voice only, just know that ROO has like a 99% success rate at assigning vendors. And if it accidentally assigns the wrong vendor, the Vendoroo guarantee will cover the cost of that trip fee, right? Like, what employee covers their cost of their mistake? And the cool thing about it is, in the last 6 months, ROO has ordered $90 million in maintenance jobs, has dispatched them, and has only issued $11,000 in Vendoroo guarantees for picking the wrong vendor, right? Like, that's a phenomenal statistic that we're seeing because people are investing in educating the ROO of how to pick the right vendor, right? And again, guys, your guidelines and your workflows, like, this is your centralized context, that the way that your company runs your business and your operations, this is where it should live. And back to Tyler's point, when we talked about it before, is this 66% that we're seeing is because that data is missing, or those knowledge points are missing from the maintenance books. And that's the key to success on there. So Pablo, any questions about that before I kind of wrap us up here?
I was just writing down $90 million in maintenance decisions, 11K in wrong decisions, because I need to make content about that. Now continue.
Yeah, I was really like, I know that internally, I can see it, but that stat that we just ran when we went through it to start preparing for some of these presentations blew my mind. ROO is phenomenal at assigning vendors, does a great job for sure. All right. So let's just get you guys wrapped up here. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much stuff, but I want to close you guys on with this.
Hey, before we close out, Jeff had a question earlier, and it was, is the ROO handling all home warranty calls? It wasn't being done before. Oh, that got answered by Tyler, right? Saying that, let's just answer it out loud, right? Like, in case you didn't read.
Yeah. So home warranty is currently an activity that AI is unable to own because it involves having to go to the home warranty company and submitting a process, a claim, and an application. They all have very different policies and processes. And then a lot of home warranty companies, it's hard for ROO to work and follow up with them because they're not in your system and they don't have reliable phones or emails for updates and communications. So for clients who are signed up for Command, okay, which is our tier 3 product. The benefit of that is it actually comes with a human layer of support, that any client that signed up for Command is basically getting a full maintenance department, and that service will handle home warranties, calling the city if there's like a plumbing issue or something. So no, ROO doesn't handle home warranties, but Vendoroo does. If you sign up for Command, that's a human activity.
Cool. Kevin Hayes mentioned that all the sentiments looked negative. And Tyler said that's because we rank the bad sentiments to the top so that you can answer them, right? Or do you want to explain that, Tyler?
Yeah. So yeah, how we've built ROO and the metrics and things at the beginning was based on actions. Like, we as PMs, you're insanely busy. You get pulled in all sorts of different directions. So everything we release, like, initially is, hey, this is something you should take a look at, that you can take an action on. And so resident sentiment was one of them, where we really, and we didn't do ourselves a lot of good service with this, is we only showed the negative sentiment. Our overall sentiment with ROO is actually 94% positive. So we are working on showcasing both the negative and the positive, because the positives will help when you go around for lease renewals, when you're working with owners, when you want reviews to help kind of build your brand. So we are working on showcasing and surfacing that information to you as well. That should be coming here shortly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And so really, and when we think about those negatives, to answer the question, this is also about, and it's just a reality of how many work orders that are submitted by a resident that is in a frustrated state. And rather you not having visibility about that, your teammates flagging this one and just saying, hey, listen, I have this under control. I'm working on this, but I'm just giving you a heads up so that you can look at this, because maybe the residents is like, this is the 5th time that I'm dealing with this, and that's good for you to know. Or maybe the resident is saying, this is the 2nd time that this vendor has missed or scheduled the appointment. There's usually, and to Tyler's point, sentiment on the negative aspect of it, there's usually an actionable item that's linked to it that's helping us improve the experience for our residents. And we think that ROO provides a better visibility into those than any of our employees have ever had. So great question. So there's a lot of value in there. Awesome.
Cool. I'm glad we hit
So,
that.
yeah.
Michael Sloan also asked, is it possible to close an escalation and keep the work order open?
Yes, closing and escalation has nothing to do with closing the work order. Closing escalation is just giving ROO an instruction or the feedback that it's requesting.
Cool. I think that's it on questions.
Awesome. So, and I love this, and you're not doing this alone. The thing that I feel that separates Vendoroo from everybody else, right, is we are the company that is focused on helping you adopt AI agents into your business with a specific focus on maintenance, right? And our AI adoption advisors, Juan and Chris and Taylor and Amara and Stacia, and there's Owen and there's Erica and Nico and the other one that everybody is met with. Their job is to help you succeed, right? When they want to have that phone call with you, it's because they're there for you to lean on them and say, like, hey, what do you think about my workflows? What are the best practices that you're seeing, right? And their job is to really help you and be a part of your team. You don't have to hire an AI team lead, right? We talk about that all the time. You can use one of our AI adoption advisors and really lean on them for those people that are in tier 2 and tier 3, to really understand your workflows, right? So if you haven't spoken to them in a minute, definitely connect with them, ask them to give you an assessment of where you're at, best practices that you can be doing. As new products come out, we know that new products come out all the time with AI. They're going to be the ones that are going to help integrate that into your systems and just ask you easy questions to help set it up instead of having to put that all on you to have to figure out. So really build that relationship with your AI adoption advisor. They're here for you. That we have the human in the loop. We talked about that a little bit earlier for people that sign up for tier 3 that need that fractional VA support to fill in the gaps and to handle those edge cases. And then what a lot of people don't know about us is that we have a big team of product quality team, and that 1,000 jobs that you reviewed are actually AI working with our product quality team to flag jobs that are, that when AI fails, what do you do? And we believe that we need to be a part of that solution as well, not just put that all on your shoulders. And we have a team that is in there helping it put it back on the guardrails, creating those escalations to you. And so really understand that there's a lot of human support here for you at Vendoroo, beginning with your AI adoption advisors, and really make that connection with them. And they are the key to helping you guys really succeed as you become self-sufficient, hopefully after that, first 90 days of your journey, or if you've been with us a little bit longer and you've been through a lot of changes, really push into your AI adoption advisor to help you get you up to speed where everybody's at. So yeah, Pablo, so that was it for me today. I just kind of wanted to give a state of where we're at. And I thought the things that were most helpful to our client base that I'm seeing that are helping people succeed. And yeah, that was the presentation for today. Let me fix my camera.
Any questions, Tyler? Do you have anything anything that you want to add to it or anything like that while anybody is peppering in questions in here?
No, I can't outdo what David just did.
I know I put you on the spot there. I'm trying to buy time just in case anybody has questions. I think, listen, one of the things that David's talking about, this idea of like the human support, right? Like it is, it's, I think what's very clear to us is that the technology and like the ability to put together a standard workflow is no longer special in any way, right? Like that's all out there. The game for us has really been shown to be clear. The idea that it's how you handle the edge cases, and how you handle the edge cases is basically having a really smart system for escalation management, right? So like we see our human team is basically your smart system of escalation management, so that you can continue to like persevere through this, normalize edge cases, those kinds of things. All right, cool. I feel like I filibustered enough there. Michael Sloan says,
yeah, he's asking me to share this here, so I'm just kind of going back, and I'm just gonna I want to be real here with everybody for a minute. I'm just gonna share you.
Let's read the question. Let's read the question out loud. Can you go back to the vendor instruction screen where you showed the level of detail they had entered, or is there a best practice format we should try to use? Go.
Yeah. So right, remember this is your brain, right? Everybody should know their brain and their policy. So we talked about it here. These are examples of great policies: responsibility, process, exceptions, management support, right? Your AI really understands, your ROO really understands this. And then best practices. So the cool thing that we know that ROO does is it organizes all your vendors for you so that you can see how do you have things are selected as first or second choices. When you're working with your AI adoption advisor, is there any specific locations that they need to be attached to? Is it standard? Are they available for emergencies? And then right here in special notes, and this is where it's really cool. I always say, talk about the vendor the way that you would talk about it if you were sitting down with your employee. Just write about it. What are the skills, weaknesses? What does it do well? Like, any things that you can put in there that you feel that you would want to pass to your employee, you can enter into this box just in natural language. If you want to bullet it, it's fine. I see a lot of people just typing a paragraph, just like they're like, "Hey, John's great. Best to communicate with him by text. Handles all minor maintenance jobs. However, does not like to work on external sprinkler systems." Cool. Now I know John's bio. So this is really key if you want to take your vendor assignments to the next level.
It's funny, Dave. I as you're saying that, I couldn't imagine myself typing all that stuff out. But that's why I often, when I'm like, I want to hear something from someone, I'm like, send me like a rambling voice note, right? So like, if I was to try to reduce friction on this, I would just like do a rambling voice note of everything I know about EA Kiker and Sons plumbing, and then like throw that into something that can transcribe it and pop it in, right? So that you're not like overthinking like the typing of the different things. Feels like,
or I love that. Yeah, just jam out about them and throw it in there, right? Yeah. AI loves the context for sure. right?
Yep.
Loves the context. So again, just to recap, policies, ownership of go-to vendors, and then just really owning, your
Dave,
relationship with your.
let's make sure we answer Michael's questions completely, right? So it's like
Yep.
the vendor instruction showed the level of detail they had entered, right? So you saw the level of detailed. Best practices format, we should try to use that best practices format is like tell this thing everything in the notes, everything that you know about the person, like that vendor in the notes, right? Whichever way you want to implement that, right?
Yeah, like here's a good example, right? For this one specific vendor, right? Before you assign the vendor, collect resident availability, and then assign the vendor for this one. Not sure why. That's a different choice, but that's the way it is. Um, because this is the vendor is the maintenance coordinator for you, chief. They will sign the technician inside that folio. Need to send out the following. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you can just kind of see get satisfaction for the resident. So there's some workflow stuff in here. I would meet with your AI adoption advisor. I would actually keep workflows a little bit out of this personally, and I would keep this more just on who the vendor is, um, and their capabilities. Right. Here's a good one here. Right. Okay. Right. And you can build on that a little bit for sure. Yeah, no doubt.
Cool. Juan put something in the chat if you guys aren't seeing it. Kind of like subject water heaters. This vendor does not. He put an example himself of what he would write in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Your AI adoption advisors really lean on them on that for sure. Here's a great one. Right.
Yeah. This one looks like somebody jammed with ChatGPT and then copy pasted it into here.
Mm-hmm.
That's another way to do it, right? Turn on the microphone with ChatGPT and be like, hey, I want to write this thing, describe it to the blah 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 blah. Give me something I can copy paste it to.
Cool. Any other things that we can think about, Pablo? I don't want to overwhelm people. I just kind of wanted to simplify this connection to it. It's no different than just managing the employee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. No, I thought you did that well, Jeff. I was just looking at Jeff's question. He says, sorry if you answered this already, but will this recording be emailed to us? Yes, we will send out this recording, Jeff. We also post all these recordings in the Vendoroo YouTube channel. So I think that what we'll send you is like the playlist so that you see all these different recordings. And that should be some good training, right, Tyler?
Yep.
Tyler's super YouTube famous, just throwing it out there. These recordings get teens of views. I thought you guys did awesome. Thanks, Dave, for popping in, Tyler, and putting this thing together. It's really cool to see. It's really cool to see how many people come to these, right? Like, cool to see names in the chat of friends of ours and other folks checking in, like Maria Eldridge and stuff like that, checking in on this type of stuff, right? So this is a mix of people that are trying to like get to know this stuff better. Tim Richards, always a value add. Patrick is saying, I find these webinars very helpful. Many thanks as always. Thank you, Patrick, for showing up, man. Yeah, we want to continue doing this. Like I'm honestly kind of like pissed at myself that I haven't been to more of these now that I had so much fun here. So Tyler, if you'll have
Yeah,
me.
we'll try to do these once a month with the three of us guys, the three of us, everybody. And really just the foundation of these is best practices, what's the data saying, and leading people to the easiest pathway to success. Like that's what I'm seeing is people are achieving amazing results and everybody here can do the same. And that's what Vendoroo is here to help you guys out. So
Cool. Oh, Tamer's local here. Tamer, good to see you here. Cool, man. Yeah. All right. Great job, guys. Have a good
all
rest of your
right,
day.
cool.